And welcome to this advanced topics section where we're going to be discussing customizing the Django admin interface. Now, often the default admin page is great and it's all we need for our projects. But sometimes we may also want to expand what the admin page can do. And we also have a lot of tools in Django to customize it to our own needs. And we're going to now learn how to customize the Django admin page as well as features of the admin page. So we're going to learn how to do the following. We'll discuss a quick review of the admin page, how it's used, then we'll change the admin page template, show you how you can actually override templates on the admin page, and then we'll show you things like changing the order of fields that show up and adding search and filters to the admin site. We're going to start by quickly creating a new project and application. We won't really do anything on the front end since we really only are going to focus on the admin back end. So essentially it's just going to be an empty front end with two models connected and registered to the admin. Let's jump to our editor and get started. Okay, here I am at the Atom text editor, and what I'm going to do is just create a new project. I've gone ahead and created a new folder on my desktop called test to do this in. Really doesn't matter too much wherever you decide to do this. And we're going to call this my _ video rental. We're going to kind of make it as if it's a rental video store website. So go ahead and create that project, and then I'm going to cd into my video rental here, and then off of this I'll say Django admin start app, and we'll just call this app videos. And this is where we're going to have a models.py file and an admin file that we can later kind of play around with. So let's expand this, make sure this all worked out. So I see my video rental, I see videos, I see models. So what I'm going to do is in my settings.py, I'm going to make sure I register this videos here. So I'm going to scroll down and under installed apps, just go ahead and add that app name that we just created called videos. Save that. Always make sure you save so you can have those changes. Then we're going to come over here to models, and we're going to quickly create two models. Nothing too major here. The models we're going to create essentially just going to mimic having a movie and having a customer. So we'll say class, movie, and then we'll say models.model. And then let's give it some fields. We'll say title is models. And we'll have it be a character field. And let's go ahead and give it a max length of 256 characters. And then let's say the movie has a length in minutes. And this is, since it's a length in minutes, we know it needs to be a positive integer. So we'll have that be that type of field. And then there's also a release year. And technically that should also be a positive integer, so we'll do that as well. Just keeping things simple. The main idea is not working with the models, it's working with the admin page. We're essentially just creating these because we need something to play around with later on. So I'm also going to create another model here called customer model. And we'll say inherit from models.model. And let's say customers have a first name. Let's say models, and that's also a character field with max length equal to 256. You can always copy and paste this from the notes as well if you don't want to type this all out. And let's say last name is models, basically the same thing here. Has a max length of 256. And then finally, let's say they have some sort of phone number or some sort of digital code. Doesn't matter too much, but we'll have that one also be some positive integer field. Okay, so Command S or Control S to save that. And then I'm going to make sure that I register these into the admin file. So we'll come over here to admin.py in our videos, and let's register these. We're going to say from.import models, and then I will say admin.site.register, register, and I'm going to register my models, that way I can see them in the actual admin page. So models.customer, and then admin.site.register, models.movie. Then I'm going to Control S to save that. And let's go ahead and make sure we do our migrations. So over here down at the terminal, I can just zoom in a little bit for you guys. I'm going to do the following. We'll say, make sure I say Python manage.py, and then I'm going to say make migrations. And it went ahead and created model and movie, or excuse me, created model customer, created model movie. Then we're going to say Python manage.py, and I'm going to migrate any changes that we have under videos. It may say running migrations, there we go. And then I always like to say make migrations one more time to make sure there's nothing left. So no changes detected, perfect. And since we're actually going to be using the admin interface, we need to actually create a super user. So let's make sure we do that as well. We'll say Python manage.py, and this line is create super user, which we've done before. And if you get this error, no such table, auth user, that's actually an easy fix. It just means that you need to run python manage.py migrate. So come over here back to the terminal and say python manage.py migrate, hit enter, and let it migrate everything. Now try it again, python manage.py, create super user, and you should see it ask for your username. I'll say Jose. Email address, doesn't really matter, we'll say blank@gmail.com. Password, I always use test password. And let's type it in again. Your password's hidden for security. So there we go, super user created successfully. Let's make sure it all works out. So we'll say now python manage.py, run server. Hit enter there, and then let's copy and paste this URL and bring it into our browser, which I'm going to bring over now. So bringing in my browser, it says it worked. Congratulations, your first Django powered page. That's exactly what we want. As I mentioned before, we're really not going to be doing anything on this front end. So let's go ahead and say /admin and come over to our admin page. My username and password is already filled out for me, Jose and test password. You may have to fill it in depending on how many times you've done this before. Go ahead and log in, and here we go. Let me make this full screen. I can see my groups and my users. That's authentication authorization, which we've actually discussed before. If you click here on users, I can see Jose, blank as Gmail, I have staff status, etc. And you'll notice that I have a filter option here. And we're going to discuss later on how to create these sort of filters on our own models. But let's go ahead and go back to home and check out our models. See here I have customers, and then if we come back to videos, I can see here I have movies, etc. So let's go ahead and create some customers. I'm going to add a new customer here. Let's just have the customer be me as well, and then some sort of phone number. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to save and add another, and then let's make a couple more kind of generic names. Random phone numbers, doesn't really matter. Save and add another, and last one, we'll say Cindy. Let's say that's also Smith, because I'm not very creative here. And then we're going to say save. Okay, so we have 3 customer objects. Those are looking good. We'll come back to videos. We'll say movies. And then we'll add some movies here. So let's go ahead and add in some movies. Jurassic Park. Let's say it's 120 minutes. Release year, 1993, I'm guessing. Save and add another one. We'll say Star Wars. Length of this one, let's say it's 90 minutes. I don't know if that's true or not. And let's say 1973. I also don't know if that's right. And finally, let's do one more movie here. Let's say Indiana Jones. Let's say it was in 1984. Whoops, that's actually the length. So let's also say this one's 134 minutes and 1984. Again, totally just making that up. Okay, so now we have 3 movie objects and we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and go back to our page where we had the models and make the string representation, not just say movie object, but have it actually say the name. So we're going to go back over here, and under models.py, notice I have my class movie and class customer. Let's go ahead and give it a string representation that we've done before. We'll go ahead and here we'll say def underscore underscore str underscore underscore. It takes in self, and it's going to return self.title. We'll have that be the model, and then also down here for the customer, we're going to add a method here. This will be self, and then let's have it return, let's just have it return self.first name, and then we're going to concatenate it with self.last name. And basically I'm just concatenating this string and then a little space there and then the last name. So now that we've done all that, let's go ahead and make sure that we migrate any changes that may have occurred. We'll say python manage.py migrate. It'll say running migrations, no migrations to apply. So let's make sure that all worked. We'll say python manage.py run server, hit enter. Our server's running again. Let me come back to the browser and bring it over. And I'm going to just come straight to the admin page. Okay, so here's the admin page. And if we check out customers, now we see Cindy Smith, Mike Smith, Jose Portilla. And if we come back to movies, we can see Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Jurassic Park. So now that we have these kind of string representations here, the string method, we can see that it's printing out that string as its name. So you click on Indiana Jones, you can see title, length, and release year, etc. Okay, so that's the very basics of the Django admin interface, and that's everything that basically already comes for free. And what I mean by free is that no work was involved, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because this is a lot of kind of power features and already stuff that you can edit without having to code anything out. All you had to do was basically register it to the admin site. But we're going to learn how to add even more stuff to this. So the first thing you're going to learn is how you can edit this template. Maybe you want things like a different color, or instead of saying Django admin or Django administration, you want it to say like Blockbuster's admin page or something like that. Not every user is going to know what Django admin means, etc. So in the next lecture, we're going to learn how to actually edit these templates. Thanks, and I'll see you there. On to this lecture on admin templates. Now for projects where other users will have access to the admin page, not just yourself, the person who created the website, you may want to add some customization to the admin templates. That way when they log in, it looks a little nicer, it's more related to the actual website, etc. So to do this, you can overwrite template HTML files that are associated with the admin pages. In order for that to work, you must have the correct template name and directory structure. Finding the file names that are correct involves looking around Django's open source code on GitHub. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the directory structure and then find the template name from GitHub. We'll kind of walk you through the whole process. Then afterwards, once we have that template, we're going to essentially copy and paste that HTML file into our code and change the template however we want. Let's get started by jumping over to our editor and setting up the directory structure. Okay, so in your project directory, where you have your project directory, your project folder, and then your application folder, what you're going to have right underneath the project directory at the very top level, you're going to add a new folder and you're going to call it templates. And then under that new templates folder, you're going to create a subfolder called admin. And this is where you can copy and paste template HTML files that are associated with the admin and essentially overwrite the original admin template files. Now to show you what these template files should be named, we're going to hop over to our browser and walk you through the Django documentation or open source code just a little bit. Let's open my browser and head over to Django's GitHub page. Okay, so here I am at github.com/Django/Django, and this is all the open source code for Django. And we actually need to play around with this a little bit and find where the admin template files are. So let me go ahead and show you how you can find them. You're first going to come to this Django folder. Let me zoom in just a little bit here so it's kind of clear what we're looking at. You'll come over to Django, let that load up, and then underneath Django, you'll scroll down till you see contrib. Click on that, and then you'll find admin here. And then under admin, you'll find the templates folder. So this templates folder is where you have registration and admin. So depending on what you kind of want to play around with, you can edit those two as well. But we are just editing the admin page right now, so we'll click on that. And this is why we had to have that specific directory structure, templates_admin, because essentially we're going to be overwriting one of these HTML files. And for now, we can overwrite the base site HTML. That's the very first page you see. So if you hit that and click on open a new tab, you'll see here that it says, hey, it extends from admin-base.html, and essentially just has the index page and the Django site admin header page. Now if you come back here, you can see that there's base HTML, and this is the base HTML code that kind of has the styling, the links, etc., and builds out what a lot of these pages are going to look like. So if you want to end up doing things like setting the admin page to have certain styles or colors, anything with CSS, or just kind of something that extends to the majority of the pages, this is the file you kind of want to play around with, base.html. But we just really want to play around with that very first thing. So we'll say base site.html, base_site.html. I'm going to copy all of this. So right click, copy. And then I'm going to hop over back to my editor. Just need to minimize that. And I have my editor right here. So underneath admin, I'll create a new file. And remember, it needs to have the exact same name as what we just discussed. So it's going to be base_site.html. Hit enter, and now we have this template file. So then I'm going to just paste. And here, if I just run this right now, nothing's going to change. So what I'm actually going to do is change over the first heading 1. So you can see heading 1 right now. It links to the index page of the admin site, but then it also has this kind of template insert. So it sees here like, oh, I'm inserting some site header, default Django administrator, etc. Instead of doing all that, I'm just going to kind of put in my own line here. So let's delete that, and let's just have it say something like new, well, I guess we're doing a video store, so let's do video store admin. And then I'm going to save this. Now that we've gone ahead and edited this base site.html, we want to make sure that our settings.py file is ready to accept any template changes. So we'll open up our project folder, open up settings.py, and as we've done before, you can actually just do this directly. Usually we had another variable name, but instead what we're going to do is, if you come over to where it says templates, I'm just going to search for it. Templates, there we go. And notice it has directories right now is empty, so let's go ahead and do the following. We'll say os.path.join, and we're going to join that base directory with templates. So save that, and once you have that, we should be able to see the new changes in our base site.html. So you'll notice that basically Django already restarted for me, so I'll bring into my browser now with the admin page. And if I bring it over, you can see now it says Video Store Admin. So those are the kind of changes you can make. Basically anything stylistically that you want to change with CSS, you're probably better off doing the base.html file, but if you want to change kind of minor things around this kind of index page of base site HTML, you can do that as well. Now definitely be careful, you don't want to change things too much to actually break the functionality. I would recommend this more for style choices. As far as functionality editing, we're going to learn the more correct ways to do that later on throughout this series of lectures. Alright, that's it for this lecture. I'll see you at the next one. Back everyone. In this lecture, we're going to discuss ordering fields on the admin page. Now by default, the admin will display fields in the detail view in the same order they are defined in the model. We can easily change that with a few edits in the admin.py file. Let me show you how. I'm first going to show you what the original default detail view looks like, and then show you how you can edit it. Let's hop over to our editor and our browser. Okay, so I have my browser here open in front of my editor, and I first want to show you the default views for the model. So we can think of it when we click customers, and then we click on a particular customer, I can see this detail view of that customer. And then if we come back to videos, if I take a look at the movies, select the title of a movie, I can see title, length, release year. Now, maybe you want to have these in a different order. Right now, by default, they're in the same order that they are defined in the model itself. Let me show you how we can change the order of this detail view for these different fields. We'll come back to videos, and then we're going to move this browser aside and do the actual edits in our admin.py file. So come over to admin.py, which is going to be underneath our application. So under videos, admin.py, and so far we've just registered models.customer and models.movie. In order to actually order the fields, what you'd end up doing is you create a new class, and this class is going to be called movie admin. And it's going to inherit from admin.modeladmin. Now, this actual naming structure, by convention, what it should be is the name of your model and then admin attached to it. So I want this class to be kind of in relation to this models.movie class. For the other one, we could say customer admin. Then off of that, we end up adding an attribute called fields. And the fields is just a list, and remember a list is a particular sequence with an index, and it's going to be the actual fields of whatever model you're referring to, in this case movies, and it puts them in the order you want. So if we take a look at models right now, and we take a look at a movie, it has a title, a length, and release year. Let's try to make the release year the first thing, and then have title and length afterwards. So we'll come back to movie admin, and we'll say release year, and then we'll say title, and then let me make sure what the last one was. It was length. So we're going to save those changes, and the last thing we want to do is we now want to register this class along with the actual model. So we'll say models.movie, and then comma, we're also going to register movie admin. Now save that, and let's bring in our browser again. So here's my browser. I'm going to just refresh this, make sure those changes are good, and then we'll hit on movies, hit on Indiana Jones, and we notice now the release year is the first thing showed, then it goes title, and then it goes length. For this particular example, it wasn't a big deal to change the orders, but oftentimes you'll have some sort of relational field, and that one's going to be really useful to have at the top, that way you can kind of choose, okay, which other model is it related to, etc. But hopefully now you can see here, you have full flexibility on the way you want to see these and what order you want to see these in. Okay, that's really all there is to it. As a quick review, all you end up doing is you create a new class with the name of your model and then admin, so that's by convention. You inherit from admin.modeladmin, and then you create an attribute called fields, and then you just list the fields in the order you want them to appear in, and then you register that along with your original model. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture. Back everyone, in this lecture we'll show you how to add search on your admin view pages. So we currently only have a few entries in our models, just a few movie titles, a few customers, but if a more realistic project ends up having hundreds or even thousands of entries, it's going to be hard to just quickly scroll through and find what you're looking for. We can add a search in the admin page to quickly and easily find what entry we're looking for, and Django actually makes this incredibly easy. It's essentially just one attribute you add into a class. So let's hop over to the editor and show you how to do that. Okay, I'm back here at the editor, and on your admin.py file, remember these classes we created where we could add in fields or the ordering of fields. What you can also do is add in an attribute called search_fields, and you can set that equal to a list of fields you want to actually search in the search box that Django is going to automatically create for us. So for instance, for movies, you probably just want to search the title. But you can imagine that if there was a description to this movie, you may want to search that as well. Now, the more terms or fields you add in here in the search field, that means the longer it's going to take to search something. However, it's all relatively quick, so it shouldn't be a big deal to add in more fields here. However, you probably don't want to add fields like length unless you intend to search for length in the search box. So I'm going to save this so you can see what this actually looks like. Let me bring in my admin page. So here's my admin page, and we added a search field to movies. So if we click on movies, notice here now we get this nice little search box. And what I can do is I can begin typing something like Indiana, and then hit search, and it's going to return anything where Indiana happened to be in that title. Okay, now if I search something like 123, or let's say 120, and hit search, right now 0 movies pop up because it's not searching the length of movies. It's only searching the title of movies. So let's edit that so we can see the effect. I'm going to hop that over here, and then let's go ahead and say length is something we can search as well. Save this. I'm going to refresh this, come back to videos, come back to movies, and now I'm going to search for, let's say 120, hit search, and I see Jurassic Park shows up because remember, now I can search for the length of a movie. So if I click on Jurassic Park, that was the length of that movie. Okay, that's really it for adding search. As you saw, it's incredibly easy and incredibly powerful. All you need to do is inside one of these classes, add in this attribute search_fields, and then add in a list of fields you want to search. And remember, you need to register this along with the model. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture. Back everyone to this lecture on adding filters. So we can also add filters for our admin view of our models, and filters will automatically show up on the right-hand side of the view, and they will also auto-filter depending on the data type, and I'll explain more about that later on. Keep in mind, not every field will be useful as a filter. Let's explore how to easily create filters for our admin views. I'm going to hop over back to the editor. Okay, here I am at my admin.py file, and if you notice what we have right now, if I bring it over my browser, is if I'm selecting videos and then I check out the movies, I see a list of movies and I can search them, and then I can also add movies here. What I want to do is if we come back to home, notice how the built-in users, it has a filter by staff status, super user status, active, etc. So I can filter based off these different fields. I'm going to show you now how to add in those kind of filters for your own models on the admin page. So to do that, it's actually really simple. All you need to do is, in this class that we created, and you can do this for any model that you made, just create another class, such as customer admin. The attribute you need to add in is called, list_filter. And then you just add in a list of things you want to filter by. So the different attributes of your model that you can filter by. So for movies, what might make sense is filtering by, for instance, the release year, or filtering by the genre, or maybe even the length, etc. What probably does not make sense to filter by is the title. So I'm going to add all of these as filters. That way you can get an idea of how this actually works and why some of these choices are probably not good choices for filters. So I bring in back my movies over here, and I'm going to refresh. And now I can see over here on the right-hand side, let me kind of expand this so you can see it. On the right-hand side over here, if we zoom in a bit, I can see by filter. So filtering by release year, that may make sense because, you know, there's different or multiple movies per release year. By length, that could also make sense depending if things are standard length or not. By title, doesn't really make sense because title is probably a unique ID in this model. So you don't want just kind of hundreds of titles here. So you usually want to filter by some sort of categorical attribute of your model where many movies or many objects are going to fit to that category. Okay, so that's how you can easily add in a filter. And that's really all there is to it. As a quick review, it's just this attribute of list_filter and then the actual attributes you want to filter by. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture. Back everyone. In this lecture, we'll learn how to view additional fields. Currently, we can only see one field of our models in the list view on the admin page. We can actually add in more fields to view and order by. And again, this is also just an easy addition of an attribute in that class we've been kind of playing around with. Let's hop over to the editor and show you how to do it. Alright, so here we are back at the admin.py file, and before we actually add in the attribute, I want to show you what it currently looks like when we look at the list view for a particular model. I'm going to bring it over my browser, And right now, if I don't do any filters, so if I show all, I can see all the movies. So I only see right now movie in this list view of a model. So bringing that over again, let's go ahead and show you the attribute. And the attribute is quite simple. It's just list display, list underscore display. And let's go ahead and just copy this list so we display all the fields. Usually you probably don't want to do this depending on how many fields you have in your model, but that should be enough for us. We'll save it, and then let's bring in back our list view page, and then I'm going to refresh this. And now you can see the release year, the length, and the title. And the order you put them in the list is the order they show up. So I probably want the title over here on the left-hand side, so let's do that as well. I'm going to move this over, and let's go ahead and have title be first. So I'm going to cut that here. Whoops. Let's actually just insert title, and then remove it over here on the back. There we go. So I'm going to save this, and now I'll refresh the page. And I can see title is now here first. So whatever's first in this column is the one you can click on to go to the detail view page. So again, this is the list view. Click on one of these, it shows you the detail view. You can also now sort by these guys. So you can notice these little kind of pop-ups here. So you can sort by release year just by clicking here on the top column. And that's how you can add more fields in your list view. Simple as that. Again, the attribute is just list underscore display. And hopefully now you get the theme of how easy it is to work with Django admin. You essentially just create a class here, inherit from admin.modeladmin, and then add in attributes as you need them. Things like filtering, displaying, search fields, etc. And then just remember to register that particular class. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture. In this lecture, we'll show you how to create edits from the list view. As I mentioned, you can also add the ability to edit attribute values from the list view instead of having to click into that detail view. And again, this is an easy attribute addition. Let's quickly show you how. I'm going to hop over to the editor. Okay, so here I am in admin.py. The attribute you need to add to this is called list underscore editable equals, and then you just add in the list of the attributes or fields that you want to be able to edit from that list view. Now keep in mind, those attributes or fields that you can edit also have to be displayed, otherwise it won't make sense. You need to display something so you can edit it. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's edit the length, and then I will save this and then bring back my actual browser. So bringing in my browser, and this is what it looks like right now. Let me refresh this, and you'll notice now in my list view I can edit the changes. So maybe I can make this 100 minutes here, and then save that, and I can see the changes, and you can even see the filter has affected those changes as well. So this makes it really easy to do bulk changes or bulk additions from the list view instead of having to click in to the actual detail view based off some sort of field. So again, this hopefully makes your life a lot easier. Now as a quick note, you should be cautious with this approach because if you intend multiple people to have access to the admin page and have access to this list view, you may cause problems if they're trying to edit the same attribute or same field at the same time. Basically, whoever clicked save last ends up having the final say. So keep that in mind as you kind of play around with this. Again, the attribute is, if we kind of come back here, it's just list underscore editable, and you have to remember that needs to be under display as well. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.